What is up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of First State Unsolved. Today's episode is the last scheduled episode of season 2. I have some pending interviews, waiting in the wings. Ain't wings, is it? Wings? I think it's wings. Anyway, I have some pending interviews, and they do involve like some missing persons cases. I feel like those take priority because if a person is actively missing, we need to do everything we can to get their story told, get the information out there. So hopefully they are found and brought home, safe and sound. So there might be some episodes that pop up. Of course, I'll announce them on social media's platforms when that happens. But so far, this is the last planned scheduled episode of season 2. Our next scheduled episodes will be out the first Thursday in June, which is June 6th. And by that point, the podcast will be officially 1 year old. I dropped the first 3 episodes of the podcast on June 1st last year in 2023. And it has been a wild ride since then. This season, we saw our first collab with Klein Williams from Unsolved and Missing Black People. He is excited to come back and speak with us again, so there will be more episodes with him in the future next season. I am hoping to maybe do another giveaway. I was talking with some people this season. It just didn't work out. Everybody got busy, no big deal. But, I'm going to see what I can do next season. It's, we're growing. It's great. People are thankful that they have a place where they can come and tell the stories of their loved ones. I'm just thankful that they are thankful, if that makes sense. I'm thankful that, I'm doing something that means something. At one point in my life, I struggled with feeling fulfilled. I, was trying to climb the corporate ladder and it just wasn't giving me what I needed. And ever since I started this podcast, I feel such a sense of fulfillment and, purpose. It's great. So I'm going to, continue to do this for you guys. I do want to mention the information that was recently released about Charles Robert, aka Bobby Steele. We spoke with his sister in episodes 16 and 17. Unfortunately, his body was discovered and DNA did confirm that it was him. He was found in a building in Wilmington that was scheduled to be demolished. I have limited details. Any information I have is public right now. I've shared articles on Facebook. A lot of you guys have seen that already. I let Kelly know, you guys are in my thoughts and my prayers. I feel so bad for her. So sorry for her family. She fought and fought and fought and is going to continue to fight for her brother. I let her know I'll be here every step of the way, whenever she needs me. I did just want to touch on that because we have been following his story here so closely. And I'm just, I'm impacted by it. Some of the listeners are impacted by it. I thought I should just share that information here because not everyone follows me on social media. Facebook has more of a following than Instagram. I'm still working on the TikToks. I'm sorry. If you've seen my TikTok account, please don't laugh at me. Please don't judge me. I'm still trying to learn that. But yeah, it was very sad when I got the text message. Kelly had actually been texting me. She let me know they discovered a body, but they were waiting for DNA results. And then she texted me when they did find out or did confirm that it was Bobby. And my heart just broke for her. It's not the outcome any of us wanted. You kind of have to be prepared for this kind of thing to happen, but that's not what you want in the end. It's not what you want ultimately. So we're very sorry for Kelly and her family. And, Kelly, we're thinking of you. We're here for you. But let's get into today's episode. If you haven't noticed, the episode's title today is Hope. I chose that title because we will be going over some cold cases that have recently made progress. And that gives me hope for the victims of cold cases that we've gone over so far in the show, and hope for the victims and the families of cold cases that we are yet to cover in the future. I say progress because some of these updates involve arrests and not necessarily convictions, at least at the point I'm recording this. But, progress is progress. And, it's kind of just proof that things take time, but the system can work. Police are working. Police are following up with this. There's just a lot that goes into it, right? It takes time. This is going to kind of feel like a homage episode just because, those are a compilation of stories. But it isn't going to cover quite as many cases as a homage episode typically does. I don't know if you guys like my homage episodes or not. I just, try to give you a fair warning what to expect, in the beginning. The first young man that I want to talk about today is Mr. Hakeem H. Smalls. Hakeem has been on my list of cases to cover for quite some time now. My initial look into him left me really wanting to know more about who he was, because so many people had such nice things to say about him. Between the tribute wall on his obituary page, I talk about obituary pages a lot because sometimes it's all I really have to go off of, but between the tribute wall on his obituary page and comments scattered all over Facebook, I was led to believe that Hakeem was a light in the lives of many. When I pass away, I guarantee there will only be a fraction of the people who ever take the time to post or say anything nice about me. So that stands out in my mind when I see such an outpour of kind words for someone. I'm not saying I'm an awful person. I just, there's a few that love me and I love them back, but you're not going to see hundreds of people saying, "Oh my God, Monica was such an amazing soul." That's just not the reality. Hakeem H. Smalls was born March 9th, 1994 to, bear with me here, Hedgington Duncan and Keisha Smalls. Keisha Smalls Towns, sorry. Hakeem was born and raised in Brooklyn, New York, and attended schools there until he moved to Delaware later in his life. I can't speak to his goals or aspirations, but every single video I found of him online was of Hakeem singing. It seems this kid loved to sing and would serenade anyone at any time. A friend of Smalls shared a video of him singing on Facebook back in February of 2017. That video now, at the time of writing this, has 4.7 thousand views. That's a small number compared to things that go viral now, but nothing I've ever shared has had that many views, so that says a lot to me. That's impressive in my eyes. As a tech at Christiana Hospital, Hakeem could often be heard singing in break rooms, hallways, and even in the patients' rooms. He enjoyed making people smile, and he would use his talents to change the mood or reduce tension during high-stress moments. Hakeem was a good kid. He's described as being respectful, kind, outgoing, funny, and one person even said he would give you the shirt off of his back if you asked him for it. Smalls never bothered anyone, and he was never in trouble, unless you considered him helping his neighbors bring in groceries or clean up their front yards as a bother. Hakeem was just 25 years old when he was murdered back in 2019. Just short of 4 years from his passing, a man has been arrested in the connection with the crime. I read 4 different articles about the indictment of Hakeem's killer, and every single one said the exact same thing. I'm guessing they all kind of just copy and pasted a press release, because if anyone had taken just 2 minutes to pull up info on the victim, Hakeem, they would have caught the fact that Hakeem's age is listed incorrectly in those articles. All the articles state a 28-year-old man was indicted August 14th and charged with the fatal 2019 shooting of a 29-year-old Hakeem Smalls in Wilmington. And police announced that on Wednesday. That's what they all say. The Wilmington Police Department said that Deshaun Daly shot Smalls along the 2500 block of North Monroe Street at 11:39 p.m. on September 27, 2019. Smalls was taken to the hospital where he later died. Daly has been charged with first-degree murder, murder during the commission of a felony, 4 counts of possessing a firearm during the commission of a felony, first-degree robbery, and first-degree reckless endangering. Daly was already in Department of Correction custody when he was arraigned by a Newcastle County grand jury, and now Daly was already in Department of Correction custody when he was arraigned by a Newcastle County grand jury and is now incarcerated at Howard R. Young Correctional Institution on $1.275 million bail. That is a hefty number, and rightfully so, because allegedly he's a killer. I'm going to continue to follow up with this and provide updates if I can, as I mentioned earlier, because I'm curious to know how Daly was picked up for this crime. Was there evidence that took 4 years to put together? Did he eventually confess? Did someone actually do the right thing and tell police what they know? Even though an arrest is what hopefully turns into a conviction, that's not going to bring Hakeem back. I hope that this helps his family on their healing journey, because Hakeem deserves justice and his mother and siblings deserve peace. The next case we have is that of Michael Deshaun Parker. Michael Deshaun Parker was born on February 12, 1974 in Wilmington to his parents Anthony Lawley and Teresa Gibbs. The 46-year-old worked in construction, and that is all the information available on him since a full obituary was never published. December 21st, 2020 was a Monday, and just before 3:30 p.m., police responded to a call in the Hilltop neighborhood and found Parker suffering from multiple gunshot wounds in the 200 block of North DuPont Street. He was rushed to the hospital, but sadly he passed as a result of his injuries. Here's what we know about the individual who has been arrested for the murder of Michael. Quote, under the efforts of Curlin and the Cold Case Unit, which included cold case investigator Stephen Rizzo and Detective Devin Jones, a suspect was identified. After a lengthy investigation, 33-year-old Yvette Wynn was revealed as the prime suspect in the murder, officials said Monday. On July 24th, the case was presented to the Newcastle County grand jury, resulting in an indictment for Wynn on multiple charges. These charges included first-degree murder, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, and 2 counts of possession of a firearm or ammunition by a person prohibited. Wynn is currently in custody at the Dolores J. Baylor Women's Correctional Institution on an unrelated matter and has been held on $150,000 cash-only bail, end quote. At the time of his murder, there had been a total of 166 shootings in the city and 28 fatalities, according to the article that I will link. In 2017, Delaware Online began tracking each and every shooting victim in the city to compile into a database that is updated daily. If I'm reading the graph correctly, 2020 saw more, quote, shooting incidents than any other year since the data began being collected. 2020 lists 248 incidents with 69 deaths. 166 to 248 is a big jump, and so is 28 to 69. But we are talking about the city of Wilmington, so anything is possible. This third case is one that set off a gang war that lasted for years and saw, quote, unacceptable levels of gun violence in and around Wilmington, end quote. Jordan Ellerbe was 16 years old when his life was taken on the evening of January 23rd, 2015. It was a Friday night, and Jordan sat on the front porch of a home in the 200 block of North Broome Street. Along with some friends, he was enjoying himself listening to some music, just being a kid and minding his own business, when all of a sudden, shots rang out and people began to scatter. 3 of the young men on the porch were hit. One man was shot in the arm, another took a bullet to the chest, and Jordan was hit in the head. A resident of the home ran outside after the gunfire ceased. She scooped Ellerbe into her arms and held him as he faded away. Jordan was never associated with any gangs, and he didn't get into any trouble. He was a good kid. He was an innocent kid. He was a freshman at A.I. DuPont High School who enjoyed playing basketball and was known for his dress game. That's what I have written here. Not sure why I wrote dress game. I sound so uncool. 2 days later, on the same front porch where Ellerbe was killed, a memorial was held to honor the teen. Candles were lit and stuffed animals were collected as people came to pay their respects. Once again, guns began blazing in another drive-by, and 18 shots were fired into the crowd, hitting 3 more people. Police and prosecutors have used phrases like string of shootings, rapidly accelerating feud, and chain reaction to describe what took place next. Delaware Online reported that 2 gangs waged war against each other in response to the incidents. The results were years' worth of bloodshed, an attempt by authorities to tackle teen violence in Wilmington, and dozens of arrests. Per usual, I will not be naming the gangs said to have been involved, nor will I be naming or picturing Jordan's murderer. I'm also not going to get into the political blame game that I have read about following Ellerbe's death. Police claim they have done what they needed to do. The powers that be didn't necessarily agree with the method used, though. What I'm going to report on is that as of January 19th, 2023, 8 years after the crime, a now 24-year-old man is being charged with the teen's death. The suspect faces a single charge of first-degree murder for Ellerbe's shooting and 3 charges of attempted murder. 2 of those charges stem from the same shooting that killed Ellerbe, and 1 is for another shooting that took place prior to the incident that took Jordan's life, according to court documents. In 2015, the suspect was 17 years old. This is a sad case of kids killing other kids. Kids wanting to grow up too fast instead of learning about life outside of the city and broadening their horizons. Real quick, I apologize if this seems out of order, but that's because I have another update to provide. Updates on updates here today. As of March 11th, the 25-year-old individual who, well, he's now 25, the individual who was accused and arrested for killing Jordan has pled guilty to the second-degree murder. That is per an article from March 11th. So, yeah, it would appear that Jordan's case is no longer cold. Jordan's case is closed. And the 25-year-old man who committed the crime when he was just 15, I think I said previously, he pled guilty. So that is where we stand with that. I hope that brings, some sense of peace and justice to Jordan's poor family. And lastly, we are going to go over the case of G. Peter Michael DiSabatino, or Peter to those who knew him. Peter's sister Natalie spoke with us back in episode 2 of the show. She talked about victim services here in Delaware and the work that she continues to do to help out other victims of crimes in the state. Natalie emailed me back in November to update me on her brother's case and to let me know that a trial was set for early December. On November 12th, 2012, Peter was fatally shot outside of his apartment building, which was located in the Studio Green Apartments near Newark. It seems that Peter was an organ donor because I found a page dedicated to his donation on the Gift of Life donor program website. I'd like to read what his family wrote about him before I get into the details on the arrest related to his killing. We haven't really spoke to a member of Peter's family yet. I still hope to speak to them in the future. That invitation is always out there. But this will kind of give you a little more background on who Peter was. It starts with G. Peter Michael DiSabatino was born October 22nd, 1992. Twice in his life, he nearly left the world, at birth and at age 2 when he almost drowned. When he was 20 years old on November 12th, 2012, he was killed while at college. Between those years, he lived his life to the fullest, as if knowing he had been granted extra time. We remember so much about Peter. He loved sports. He was a huge Raven fan. We know he was watching when they won the Super Bowl in 2012. He loved being on the sports field. He loved working hard at the game and being part of the team. He played football and basketball, but his favorite was lacrosse. He was co-captain for 2 years at his high school for the Appoquinimink Jaguars in Middletown, Delaware. He also said that the best part of the role was being able to encourage his teammates. A college scholarship is now given every year in his name to the player that most personifies Peter's leadership and team spirit. He loved writing and producing music. He was proud of his music and enjoyed sharing it. He loved the beach, swimming, and surfing. He loved being in college at the University of Delaware. He made the dean's list in business, yet also enjoyed classes in music and drama. But more than anything, he loved his family. He was never happier than at a family gathering. He shared that love in many ways with his parents, Angela Herman and Tom DiSabatino, and especially his sisters Caroline and Natalie. He was also very close to his stepfather, Michael Herman, and Michael's son, Thomas, who became Peter's brother. Peter will always remain a place in our hearts, and we will remember how he made our lives together in this place so much brighter, that his smile and his laugh will always be there with us. We love you and miss you, Peter, and are proud of the donation of life for someone else. The page ends with a quote from Peter himself, quote, "I'm a galaxy. I fill my open spaces up with stars." And that is a quote from 2011. Now, I have not had any more updates from Natalie, but according to a Delaware Online article, the trial she mentioned in her email never actually happened. The article states that according to court records, the man who was set to stand trial for the murder of Peter in December had his charges dropped on the eve of his trial. Apparently, prosecutors ran into some issues with getting a potential witness to cooperate. A second man was arrested this year in early January, and he has officially been charged with murder. Alondo Dale has been indicted on first-degree murder charges, and the indictment document also indicates detectives believe that the homicide involved Dale using fake money and robbery. The article I will link lists more specifics on what possibly took place if you'd like to take a look. This case was cold for 11 years. Quote, "You never really know how the system works until you are in it," said Thomas DiSabatino, who was Peter's father. "It takes time." Quote, "There isn't any satisfying conclusion to this for us because our son is still gone, and he is gone every day. We just hope that justice will be done and go from there," end quote. When I spoke with Natalie last year, she revealed that she had nothing but faith in the system and the investigators working on her brother's case. Peter's story and others read today are all proof that there is still hope for justice. But as Mr. DiSabatino said, these victims are still gone. Nothing will ever bring them back, and all these families can do is just try to move on. So that is it for today's episode. That is it for season 2. And, this episode is a good indicator, again, that there's still hope. Things are working. They're just working slowly. If you are in a position where your family members, friends' case, someone you know's case is cold, take a note from Kelly Canning and do not take a break. I know it's exhausting. I know it's tiring, but don't let this case get pushed under other cases. Don't let the pile stack up and your person be forgotten about, because investigators can try, but there's just so much that goes on, as we've learned in 2 seasons. If you thought nothing ever happened here in Delaware, you thought entirely wrong. So please push, persevere. Don't let them forget about your people, because it can happen. And if you don't fight for them, no one will. It's a sad reality. I hate to say it, but it's the truth. I'm always here. I have limited resources. I have limited, pull. But if anybody ever needs to come here and talk to us, you're welcome. And now that I have an in with Klein and his huge audience, Klein with Unsolved and Missing Black People, he is always absolutely willing to help as well. So please don't lose hope. Please don't lose faith. We're here for you, okay? And thanks so much for listening. Thanks so much for coming back for season 2. We'll see you on season 3. Bye, guys.